Alright, it's time for my full guide on Cerydra. As usual, in this video, I'll first go through her overall kit and her playstyle, followed by her Eidolons, then some build options, proper rotations, and finally, her synergies. So leave a like if you find this video helpful. Also, please check the pinned comment for any extra notes or corrections. And with that, let's get started. This video is sponsored by LD Shop, a safe and reliable game top-up site from the creators of one of the best emulators, LD Player. It offers affordable prices in most game items through official ways, like games such as Honkai Star Rail and Genshin Impact top-ups are purchased from Razer Gold, so you don't have to worry about getting banned. Something I can testify for myself, as I have been using it for my monthly supply passes. It also does not require any of your account information, just the user ID and server. You just hop into LD Shop, select your preferred game, select the pack, then type your UID and server, and then just click on top up, select your preferred payment option, and that's basically it. Within a moment, you get your jades. It's a fast and easy process with tons of positive reviews. And also, if you are someone who regularly spends on the game, there's a VIP system that rewards you with a free express supply pass if you spend over $80 a month. Also, if you use my link, you'll be getting free coupons for even more discounts. I know you'll be spending for your favorite character, so why not do yourself a favor and save some money? Just click on the link in the description or in the pinned comment and check out LD Shop. So, Cerydra. She's a 5-star win unit following the path of harmony. She's a single target buffer where she allows any one ally in her team to get a double skill. She also provides some good utility and extra damage through her own attacks. Looking at her base stats, everything from her base HP to her base speed are just mid, which won't affect that much given she has quite a lot of self buffs. Lastly, she has a 130 energy cost ultimate. Moving on to her abilities, her basic attack does nothing. It's the same old single target hit, dealing wind damage. Her skill is her core ability. It first grants military merit to a single ally, and then gives Cerydra 1 charge. She can hold up to 8 charges. When she reaches 6 charges, the military merit buff on the target ally upgrades to peerage. This dispels any crowd control debuffs from that ally and provides 72% crit damage and a 10% rest pen only for their skill damage. Then triggers this unique effect called coup de main when that ally uses their skill on any target. The coup de main is basically copying the ability and using it again, meaning if you trigger this on a Phainon's meteor skill, then he will do that twice, so a double skill. After this triggers, she will consume 6 charges and then revert the peerage buff to military merit. So it's all about gaining charges and triggering the coup de main as much as possible, and that's where the talent comes in. It first grants extra attack to the ally with the military merit buff based on Cerydra's own attack. This is like Robin's attack buff, but just for a single ally. Also, when the ally with the merit buff uses basic attack or skill, Cerydra will gain 1 charge. This is the primary way for her to gain charges. Lastly, when the character with the merit buff attacks a target, Cerydra will deal 1 instance of additional damage to that target. Do note this is a single target hit. It's not like Triby's AoE additional damage. This effect can trigger up to 20 times and gets reset after Cerydra uses her ultimate. Speaking of which, Cerydra's ultimate first grants her 2 charges. Then she deals AoE wind damage to all enemies. Also, if there are no characters on the field with military merit buff, then using her ultimate will grant the merit buff to the unit in position 1 in the team lineup. Lastly, for her technique, it grants military merit to the ally, and when switching to another character, the merit buff will be transferred to them. So you can choose who you want the merit buff to be on. When entering battle, she will automatically use her skill on the ally with the merit buff from her technique, without consuming any skill points, but also grants her 1 charge at the start of the battle. And also, it means you don't need to use her skill at the start. For the level of priority, given both the crit damage buff and the rest pen buff from her scales of level, you want to max that out first, along with the talent, as it affects her attack boost and additional damage. Then you can level up her ultimate for some extra damage, which is not that relevant to begin with, but it's something I guess. Lastly, her basic attack, which you can just leave at level 1 if you don't have the materials, but depending on the team, you will be using her basic attack quite a lot, so I recommend leveling that up as well. Moving on to her passives. Her first passive provides her more crit damage based on her attack, up to 360% crit damage to be exact, and for that, you need to have her at or above 4000 attack, which is not that hard to get, as you'll see in her builds. Her second passive gives her 100% crit chance, which combined with the 360% crit damage, pretty much fills any crit requirements in her build. Also, when Cerydra's charge is not at maximum, when the ally with the merit buff uses their ultimate, she gains 1 charge. So remember, in her talent, she gains 1 charge when the ally with the merit buff uses their basic attack or skill, but not ultimate, so this basically fixes that. but this can happen only once per battle, which is stupid in my opinion. Lastly, her third passive. It grants her and the teammate with the merit buff 20 flat speed for 3 turns. It's not base speed, it's just like Jay's 30 speed increase. As for the 3-turn duration, since her merit buff doesn't really have a duration, this speed increase will determine how her rotation works. Also, when the ally with the merit buff uses their basic attack or skill, it regenerates 5 energy for Cerydra. For her bonus stats, after maxing out her traces, Cerydra gains 22.4% wind damage boost, 18% attack, and 10% HP. It's alright, not bad. Now let's talk about her Eidolons. And as she is a harmony support, we can't really analyze her damage. It has to be the main DPS on the team. So for any of the calculations shown ahead in the video, this is the team I've used, with Phainon, Sunday, and Bronya, and it's for a single Phainon ultimate rotation. So let's start with her E1. It allows the unit with the merit buff to ignore 16% defense when dealing damage. And when the merit buff changes to peerage, basically when Cerydra reaches 6 charges, then this unit will ignore an additional 20% defense when dealing damage. Do note that the first part is for all damage, but the second part is only for that double skill, which is perfectly fine I guess, as you always want to use your skill to trigger the Kudama effect. Lastly, when Cerydra uses her skill, it regenerates 2 energy for the target ally. And this is the most stupid part of her kit. This is basically non-existence for any other damage dealer, but the one unit that benefits from this is Phainon, as it does not gain any energy, but the 2 energy from this will grant him 1 core flame. So it's only for Phainon. Well, at least for now. Her E2 increases the damage dealt of the unit with the merit buff by 40%, and it also increases her own damage by 160%. With this, she will be able to provide some solid damage output. Her E4 increases her ultimate's damage multiplier by 240%, which is kinda crazy, but it's great for personal damage. Lastly, her E6 provides 20% all type rest spend to the unit with the merit buff. It also increases the damage multiplier of her additional damage by 300%. And lastly, when any ally in the team has the merit buff, Cerydra herself will gain 20% all type rest spend. This is all about damage increase for both the target ally and Cerydra herself. Overall, I think her E1 is worth it if you really want to bring out her value for a Phainon team, but only her E1. The rest are just okay to have I guess, but they are in no way worth it or recommended in my opinion. Most are just damage increase for Cerydra, which is fine for the most part, but it's very unnecessary. And also, here the E1 is better than what the chart is showing, as it only counted for a single ultimate rotation. It didn't quite factor in the extra core flame generation from the 2 energy. This will allow Phainon to enter his ultimate quite faster. All in all, as I said, only her E1 is worth it if you really like this unit and want to make the best of her kit. But even at E0, she's a core unit for your Phainon team, so you don't have to go for a E1, but if you can if you want to. By the way, if you're enjoying the content, please consider subscribing, as it does help the channel grow and motivates me to make more content for you guys. Now let's start with her builds. First of course is Lightcones, and she being a pretty standard support akin to someone like Robin, there isn't much variety here. Her major stat needs are basically attack as much as possible. Her attack buff and her personal damage scales of her attack, and she gets a ton of crit damage from it. So any Lightcone that provides a ton of attack is going to be ideal for Cerydra. And as usual, her signature is definitely her best in slot. Not only it has one of the highest base attack among 5-star Lightcones, it provides 64% attack on top of that. It also recovers 1 skill point when using her ultimate, which helps with SP management. And for a team that majorly uses skills, you will need that extra skill point. And then it provides 54% skill damage boost to the target that she buffs, which can either be Phainon or Anaxa. Both benefits heavily from skill damage boost. It's perfect for the type of teams that she wants to be played in, which are, well, Phainon and Anaxa teams. But it's not absolutely necessary. In fact, the best alternative is going to be the free 4-star event Lightcone that we got in this patch. At S5, this can provide more attack than her signature, but you lose out on the extra SP and the skill damage boost. As for other alternative, in terms of 5 stars, being pretty similar to Robin in terms of stat requirements, her Lightcone is also good for Cerydra. The initial energy regen does take time to stack up as it's based on ally attacks, but the attack and damage boost is great for a Phainon team, but only for a Phainon team. Keep in mind that the buff or state I guess is only for 1 turn. So it's perfect for Phainon if you use her ultimate right before Phainon's transformation. But for any any other DPS, the moment Cerydra takes a turn, the buff will be lost. So for Phainon, this Lightcone can be usable, but if you're using her with any other DPS, I wouldn't recommend it. One other 5-star is going to be Sunday's Lightcone. This provides some solid energy regen for Cerydra and damage boost for the DPS, but also generates skill points. It lacks on the attack department, but it does have really good utility. For a 4-star alternative, you have your trusty Dance Dance Dance. This doesn't work as insanely as with some other Harmony units because Cerydra's ultimate is not as frequent, especially in a Phainon team, since in most battle, Cerydra will only be using her ultimate once or twice, but it can help you reach those high speed breakpoints, and especially if you want to zero cycle with Phainon and you cannot finish the stage with just one Phainon ultimate and requires a second one, and for that you want to make sure that your Phainon enters his ultimate much faster in the action order, and Dance 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 can help with that. Overall, there are 4 options that I would recommend. Her signature, obviously. If you don't have that, then the 2 best alternatives are going to be Sunday's Lightcone and the new 4-star event Lightcone, and the last one is Dance 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 if you need it for team rotations like zero cycling and stuff. But do keep in mind that you need to reach 4k attack on her to maximize her crit damage boost. Now for which to get between her signature and her E1. Well, both have their pros and cons, depending on the situation. Her E1 does provide more damage increase because of the extra def ignore, and it also generates more core flames for Phainon with the extra energy. Her signature on the other hand has the much needed skill point generation, which is really helpful in a Phainon zero cycle. But it doesn't have to be her Lightcone. Sunday and Bronya can simply use their Lightcones, or just 2 Bronya's Lightcone if you have them, and those will be able to generate enough skill points for the team. And in terms of Lightcone variation, Cerydra is actually the best unit to have different Lightcones. Like if you're struggling with speed breakpoints, then it's better to use Dance 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 on Cerydra than her own signature. And also, her E1 will enable her to generate more core flames for Phainon, which will reduce the amount of skills that Phainon has to use, and that will lower skill point needs. Her E1 does provide much more value than her signature. Now let's look at her best relic sets. For 4Ps, there are 3 options, each for different situations. The best and most universal one is going to be the Sappheiros set. It gives speed to Cerydra and crit damage for the DPS. It's the perfect all-around set for Cerydra, but some other sets can perform better depending on the situation. Like in zero cycle clears, if you cannot reach high speed breakpoints on your Cerydra, then the Eagle set may be better for you, as basically, in most if not all situations, you want your Cerydra to be the fastest unit in your team, and if you can get that with just Sappheiros set, then it's fine. Otherwise, the Eagle set can kind of help her make up for it by allowing her to take turns faster with the extra action advance. Do note that these points only matter if you're trying to do a zero cycle with Phainon. Without that, you can easily play her around 134 speed, with other supports below that. And that's also for the case if you're playing her with Anaxa. Lastly, since these 2 sets does not provide any attack, if you're struggling to reach that 4k attack goal, then a 2-piece combo of any attack set can be usable, I guess. The same can be said about 2-piece speed combos to reach that high speed, but for that, I'll simply recommend using the Eagle set. Overall, the best is going to be the Sappheiros set, with the Eagle set being occasionally better for a Phainon zero cycle if you cannot reach high speed on Cerydra. For the 2Ps, there's only one option worth considering, and that's the Lusaka set. It provides energy regen, which you kinda need in order to get her ultimate before Phainon. Otherwise, she won't be able to gain enough charge, and it'll be hard to get 2 double meteor attacks inside Phainon's ultimate. And it also provides attack for the DPS. It's the perfect set for any support. Anything else is just worse than Lusaka. But once again, situationally, if required, the Von Vex set can be usable if you need your Cerydra to take first turn, and you don't have high speed. Lastly, the Penacony set can also be usable if you're playing with Anaxa. Overall, just use Lusaka. Is the most universally best set for Cerydra. For Relic Stats, here's the build for reference. For main stats on the pieces, go for attack percentage on both the body and the sphere, speed or attack on the boots depending on your relic substats, and energy regen on the rope. You could use attack here as well if you are playing her with Anaxa, as it generates a ton of energy for Cerydra, and the ERR is mainly needed for Phainon, but generally I'd recommend just using ERR on the rope. For stat goals, there are basically 2 major stats that you need to focus on, attack and speed. For attack, try to go as high as you can. Ideally, I recommend at least 4.2k attack, because that will provide an attack boost of 1000 to the DPS. So try to aim for around 4.2k attack. As for speed, it depends. Generally, you want your Cerydra to be the fastest unit in the team. That is the main goal. As for how fast, well, that will depend on the team that you are playing her in. Like if your overall team is around 134 to 140 speed, like for Anaxa, then Cerydra can be around that range as well, as long as she is the fastest. This will also work in a normal Phainon team. But if you want to zero cycle with Phainon, then her speed requirements can become pretty high, like over 150 speed. That's why I recommend speed on the boost, even though she provides herself with 20 speed. Now if you cannot reach that high speed, you could go for a different approach, like Dance 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 Lightcone and the Eagle set or the Wand Back set. But the main rule that you need to keep in mind is that she is faster than your other units. This will allow her to generate charges faster and also make her rotations much more consistent. You don't have to stress over it, as if you're not using her in a Phainon team, then she will already be the fastest unit in the team because of her speed buff. Now for some notes on her energy rotations. Well, there are basically two types. There's the general rotation for any DPS, and then there is the Phainon rotation. For that, given Cerydra activates her skill automatically at the start of the battle, and with Phainon's technique, she should be able to get her ultimate before Phainon. As for her charge, with the Bronya and Sunday team and her ultimate, she will have 6 charges ready before Phainon's ultimate. This way, Phainon will get a double meteor in his first extra turn and the 7th extra turn. As for her timings, I've already explained her speed requirements. She just needs to be faster than her other teammates. Now for any general DPS, or I guess mainly Anaxa, for him, Cerydra can opt for a basic skill rotation. This will make her SP neutral, and she will be able to get her ultimate every 3 turns to refresh her speed buff. As for her charge, combined with her extra skills and Anaxa's own double skills, he will be able to generate charges way faster than any other DPS. As such, Anaxa will get a quadruple skill every 2 to 3 turns, and the speed is just as usual. Have her faster than your other units, and that's basically it. Now finally, her best synergies, and there are mainly 2 units that I recommend playing her with, and I guess a 3rd unit with somewhat okay-ish synergy. Let's start with the most popular one, Phainon. I'm pretty sure most of you guys already know what she does for him. This topic has been discussed way too much already, but basically, she allows Phainon to be able to do 2 double meteor attack inside his ultimate, which is the enhanced skill 2, which is Phainon's highest damage attack. She also provides speed, which makes it easier for him to go for a -1 speed comp with Sunday or Bronya, even without a speed boost, for your normal Phainon team. But for zero cycling, the whole team needs a lot of speed, over 150 speed to be exact. And here as well, Cerydra's speed buff comes in real handy. Apart from this, she provides around 1000 attack, an extra crit damage and rest spend for the double meteor attacks. Now this all sounds really good, but this also has its fair share of issues. I just mentioned the high speed requirements, but also having Cerydra makes the team very SP heavy, to the point that you need other SP generation sources like Bronya's Lightcone or Sunday's Lightcone, preferably both, but any one is good enough. Note that this is all for a zero cycle clear. If you don't care about that, then you can simply lower the speed of all your units. Having Cerydra basically increases Phainon's overall potential. With good investment and better builds, it gives him a better shot at zero cycling future challenges with higher, more HP pool. But also, if you just want to clear content and you don't really have good builds, Cerydra can make it easier to clear content with Phainon, even without premium supports. Although the buff that Cerydra provides like attack and crit damage are already way too saturated in his kit, the double skill just adds way too much damage, which simply cannot be compared to any other support. She is currently the best harmony support for Phainon. For teams, the normal Sunday and Bronya comp is the best, but if you don't have those, you can replace them with other units like RMC or Tingyun, or even the new upcoming Preservation Danheng. The next unit is going to be Anaxa, and well, compared to our initial thoughts on their synergy, things have changed. Initially we thought that Cerydra is just the best harmony unit for Anaxa. Because of her, Anaxa will be able to do 4 skills in one turn, but there is more to that. First of all, Cerydra does allow Anaxa to do 4 skills, but all the buffs from the previous state only last for the first 2 skills. The 3rd and 4th skill does not get the crit damage and the rest spend buff, which does decrease their damage, but the good thing is that since the ally with the merit buff cannot generate charges while in the period state, the 3rd and 4th skill from Anaxa's 4 skills will generate charge, and that makes generating charges for Cerydra so much faster than any other team. A few other issues can be the inconsistency of the buffs and SP requirements. Since you'll be playing Anaxa in a -1 speed comp with Sunday, and with the 20 speed buff from Cerydra, Anaxa will be zooming through that 3-turn speed buff. You may think that using attack boost instead will be better, because he won't be as fast now, but Cerydra only gives 20 speed. With that, Anaxa still needs 17 more speed from substats to reach 134. If you have relics with high speed substats, then sure you can try that, but for general players, you may face some inconsistency with Cerydra's speed buff on Anaxa. A way to kind of get a banded solution is to either have a really fast Cerydra, like over 160 speed, or just use a skill constantly. And both circles back to the same issue that I mentioned with Phainon: high stats requirement and heavy skill point consumption. Her signature Lightcone or Sunday or Bonnia's signature Lightcones can somewhat help with that, but then again, just like Phainon, even with all these requirements, Cerydra is one of the best harmony supports for Anaxa. The quadruple skill is just way too much damage. A simple team for this is just Anaxa, Sunday, Cerydra and a sustain. You can use Bonnia in place of Sunday, and if you pair the new upcoming Danheng in this team, then Sunday will be even better, because now Anaxa will get a summon, which will activate the extra damage increase from Sunday. Lastly, we have Archer. He does not have the same level of synergy as Phainon or Anaxa, because for him, Cerydra's overall contribution is very low compared to other damage dealers. Cerydra does provide some nice things, like an extra skill that does not consume the 2 skill points that Archer's skill normally consumes, and it does not count within the 5 skill limit, so it's definitely a massive damage increase. Also, having someone like Archer, who uses skills so many times, it generates charges for Cerydra a lot faster, so much so that it can easily allow her to go SP positive. Also, unlike Anaxa's buff uptime issues, it's not as bad with Archer, because we don't really play him at -1 speed. We play him with Sparkle, who gives Archer 1.5 times more turns instead of the 2 times more turns with Sunday and Bronya. Everything with Archer requires much less investment and has less issues, but the result is actually the opposite. Given Cerydra's peerage buffs only last for the double skill, the rest of Archer's skills does not get buffed, so they end up doing less damage overall, compared to someone like Tribi or Cypher, who can buff all of Archer's skills. Also, Archer's damage consists of many attacks, instead of one huge nuke like Phainon. That's why having just one of those attacks buffed does not get his overall damage much higher, where with Phainon, getting a double meteor increases his damage by a lot. All in all, Cerydra can be used with Archer. She is definitely a great support for him, but not to the point where you would get Cerydra just for him. And that's basically it. Any other DPS either don't have much synergy with Cerydra, or they have better harmony supports already. Overall, Cerydra is for Phainon, just like how Jiaoshu is for Akron. She is definitely made for Phainon, but can also work with other damage dealers sometimes. Anaxa is one of those cases. If you are a Phainon main, and you really want to take your Phainon to the next level, then I highly recommend getting Cerydra, especially if you want to see him relevant for a long time. Phainon is pretty new, so he may have more than enough damage for players who simply want to clear content, but give it a few more patches, and we might see a time when he is unplayable without Cerydra, just like how Akron is without Jiaoshu. But do note, this is only if you really like Phainon and want to play him for the longest time. For players who don't have Phainon, even for Anaxa, I wouldn't recommend getting her, since units like Robin can produce similar results in those teams. And that's going to be it for my guide on Cerydra. This video would have come out weeks ago if I hadn't faced so many health issues at once. Hopefully, this answered any questions you had about Cerydra. If you have anything else you want to ask me, you can leave those in the comments and I'll try my best to answer them. Like and sub if you enjoy my content. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.